Okay, well, so you've been dealing with a wide variety of different, for lack of a better word, diseases, illnesses, maladies, however you want to define them.
Conditions.
Some are like autoimmune related. You had a really bad Pemphigus case.
Yes.
For those that don't know what that is, it's where it's a disease that dogs get. It's considered an autoimmune disease. They can lose the integrity on their skin, on their nose, on their paw pads, and it starts to basically disintegrate. And I know I said that on purpose that way so that the integration of the cells begins to fall apart.
Yeah, it's the body attacking itself.
It is, right. So I know there are various therapies, and I know sometimes they use steroids to try to address this. You caught wind of a dog named Harley. What was that? Tell me the background of that.
Well, Harley belonged to a client of mine, or I mean, they're friends, right? They're all friends. And he had been sick for about 5 months, but they never told me about it because of what was going on with him. They figured that maybe it was beyond me, that I wouldn't know what to do. So I found out about Harley being sick 5 months in. And he sent me pictures of Harley, and I'm looking at this stuff, and I've never seen this before. I have no idea what this is. So, it was way beyond allergies. I mean, his paws were so swollen and so big. I have never seen anything like that before. So I ended up sending these pictures through to Stan, who's the vice president of enzymes, and asking him if he knew what it was. And he came back to me and said, Brenda, I think this is Pemphigus. But he says, but if it is, I'll never forget his words. He says, I'm sorry, dear, you can't save them all. Because what it is if you don't get onto, when Pemphigus is diagnosed, they have to go onto steroids. You essentially want to shut down the immune system, shut the body down. But because we were 5 months down the road,
It's too late for that.
It had progressed too badly. So I asked Harley's owner if he had been tested for Pemphigus, and he said, well, you would think with all these months of doing all of these things that Pemphigus would have been tested for, but it hadn't. So sure enough, the diagnosis came back saying it's Pemphigus, and also too, there's no hope. So he ended up dealing with 3 different vets, and they all said, you should put him down. Put him down because
that's the conventional
he wasn't
wisdom,
eating.
And even Stan, fell into that because, it's like it's a hard hand to be dealt, and you just don't think of anybody 5 months in having even the remotest chance of being turned around.
Absolutely, and he had
But
lost.
don't tell Brenda Johnson.
No, right? That's right.
Okay.
Don't stop.
Don't stop believing. Okay,
Yeah.
so So at this point, had you felt a challenge or?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Well, and he wasn't eating either. He had lost 30 pounds, and they were lucky if they could get a piece of bologna into him, right? Which
How
I mean
did he
is.
stand with those big feet? Was he having a tough time?
He had a very tough time. He spent most of his time, because they had put him onto the steroids as soon as the Pemphigus, diagnosis was made. It got so bad for him, like he was bleeding everywhere. So he couldn't even be in the house because everything was oozing and bleeding. So it looked like, everywhere in their house was a mess. He was peeing constantly. He didn't have any control over that.
Yeah.
So he ended up being put into their garage. And it was an attached garage, so it's not like, and they've got a really nice garage. It's not like he was just put off on his own, but that's where he had to be. And so he wasn't eating. He had given up, right? And the vets had given up, and even the owners too they had an appointment to have him put down. So what we did is, because he wasn't eating, we went and we took the granules and put them in a coffee grinder and ground them up into a fine powder.
Okay.
And then we mixed it with, and at this time I now was using also something called colloidal silver, which is a natural antibiotic. It's also really good to help boost the immune system, and together with the enzymes, again, it's a dynamite team. So what we did is we would mix those granules in with the colloidal silver in a syringe, and then essentially started force feeding Harley, and then also doing the same with cannabis oil, force feeding it into him. And so he was hanging on. He was still with us. and they bypassed the appointment to have him put down just to see what would happen. And it took about 3 weeks, and then it all changed. All of a sudden he's up, he's about, he's eating, and Blair started taking him for runs again and walks again, and he became back to the Harley he was. And it was unbelievable, right? Because there was 3 vets that had said, there's no hope for this dog, it's too late. So as a result of what happened with him, there was a vet, one of our top dermatological.
Let me say the word for you.
Yeah, veterinarian
Okay.
in Winnipeg, who had heard about Harley and his story, and had said, there's no way this dog can still be alive. So he actually came to Winnipeg.
And where was he from originally?
From Ontario.
So from the province of Ontario. So that's still many kilometers.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a
You probably
plane
flew,
ride.
right?
Absolutely,
Yeah, okay.
plane ride. Yeah.
Okay.
And so he came and he checked out Harley, and of course he's got this dog before him that all of his sores have gone away. Like he completely changed. But because he couldn't understand what it was that Blair had done with Harley and this whole natural approach, he didn't get it. And so he told Blair, we should put him on steroids, we should put him on antibiotics, and Blair just said,
But why
no.
at this point? Now the dog is better.
I know, right?
I could understand if he still had some issues or something that you were trying to address, but there was...
Because
he was
there's no way that Pemphigus can be, right, in his mind and in the veterinary world, there's no way that once Pemphigus is that far gone, that you can turn that around. So in his mind, he figured, okay, the dog is still alive, we better keep him alive by giving him these steroids and the antibiotics, because that's all they know, right? And so Blair just said, not a chance, I'm not doing that with him. And so that's now going over 2 years now that Harley was this sick, and he's still doing amazing. But when nothing has changed, we're still doing the colloidal silver.
You still get the same ingredients
absolutely,
every day.
everything
Good
the
food,
same. Yeah.
And all this is coming up.
Yes.
Just so we're being very abundantly clear, again, I know we mentioned this in these videos, we're not trying to say that we're a cure or any kind of remedy or anything like that. It's just give the body something that it can use to try to do better. I didn't say that well. Give the body something that it can use to overcome the things that is being handed to it. Pemphigus, again, is one of those things like an autoimmune disease.
Yeah. It's one of the worst. It really is.
And usually is a death sentence. To me, though, there's probably the worst thing than the disease is a closed mind. Unfortunately, and again, we're not out here to make enemies with anybody. But if somebody can use a therapy to reverse this in a dog, whatever it is, and it wasn't anything harmful,
No.
it was natural things.
Yeah.
Why would a person in that realm not have an interest? Unless they're feeling threatened. And we're not out here, it's just you and me. We're not very menacing.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have these big guns here, but, you know, we're just people doing what we want to do to try to help others find answers and give them a shot at hope.
Absolutely.
Because at this point, this dog had no hope.
No.
Zero.
No.
Put him down, put him down, put him down. There's nothing that can be done. So what do? This is like Bodie. Same thing. No hope. I'm sorry, make him comfortable, give him a nice home, surround him in love, and if he passes in the night, okay, if not, bring him in here. We'll do. So regardless, it's like, and it's understandable, sometimes it just seems like there's no way that a person or pet can rebound. But that shows what the body can do if you give it the right tools.
Yes.
And you're not...
It's that simple. It really is. And as time has gone on, you know, I mean, Pemphigus truly was one of my biggest challenges, well, up until in this last 6 months. In the last 6 months, I've had a couple more dogs come my way that, you know, were in their own way even worse than Harley was. But I've really learned that no matter what it is, no matter what the cause, we always go at it the same way, right? The enzymes, the colloidal silver, the cannabis oil if we need to. All of that, regardless of what it is, it always, always makes a difference. Always.
That's right. Well, great story. Great story. And maybe there's somebody out there right now with a dog that has this very issue, and they're crying their eyes out because they don't want to see their best friend have to be put down.
Absolutely. And when the vets are saying there's nothing you can do, that it's just best to put the animal down, that happens too often. I hear it all the time, even as do you. You know, people
Just happened
give
the other
up.
day.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
not even giving the animal a week, and then it hasn't gotten better. But that's because we've been so trained in this world today that we want that Band-Aid, right? That Band-Aid fix, that you take that pill today and tomorrow you feel better. This isn't like that. It's not like that. You don't cover it up. You go to the root of the problem. You start to strengthen from within out, right? So it's not something that is an overnight. Sure, I mean, I've had Cinderella stories, Little Poncho, that may be one yet too that we can talk about at some point. Little Poncho, that was a Cinderella story. That was a neurological brain injury, right? We do have those kinds of stories, but a lot of times it takes a little bit longer, but then as time goes on, it just keeps on getting better and better. And how can it not? Because we continue to strengthen the body. So we're giving instead of just covering it up.